Web goes tight, physics takes over. Director Mark Webb is particularly sensitive about making sure that the physics remain grounded and believable. To meet that directive, special tools were written by our development team to assure that gravity and other physical properties remained in check, wherever possible, and if cheats became necessary, the tools served. A maneuver that he uses to accelerate himself up the web during chase sequences to make sure he's always gaining on his opponent. Animation also played a role in scenes where audiences would assume they're looking at practical photography, like the final standoff with Electro where Spider-Man is completely animated throughout, including the close-up performances. This gave the director the flexibility to add additional shots well after principal photography was complete. On a smaller scale, but equally important, is the muscle animation. The silhouettes and volumes are animated to specific lighting conditions for each shot, so that the contours of the sculpt are picked up in the specular areas of the render, just like in the comic book artwork where the muscle shapes are so clearly and artistically defined in dramatic lighting. Then a simulation pass adds jiggle to the muscle masses so they resonate realistically in response to both internal and external forces. And notice the wrinkling detail in his suit. The new suit design is much looser than it was in previous iterations, so a full-on cloth sim gave us the opportunity to bring out another layer of detail, with wrinkles driven not only by his movement but also react to the environment, like fluttering in the breeze during freefall.
The theme of time really comes into visual play in the clock tower scene, which literally Spider-Man's battling Goblin among the gears of a clock.
I think one of the nice things about the clock tower was that because they built a set and they shot actors and stunt doubles on the set, we did get that richness that we were able to model our CG after and integrate it with, and I think it really helped.
We were going to do a lot of compositing tricks for the Goblin because he was shot on a moving platform. And it turns out, you know, as so often happens, we get it into our world and discover we can do other things, and maybe with a little trickery and sort of developing the rigs, the animation rigs, to a point where you honestly can't tell the difference between the practical element and the CG element. And all of a sudden it just opens it wide open to doing what we need to do and making it a complete digital character. And where it was only intended, just like in the first Spider-Man was really only intended to be seen, you know, this big in the distance as a CG character. And as it evolved, obviously he became more prominent, and I think that's what happened here as well.
Run! Harry! Harry, put her down! You don't remember me?
No? There's a sequence in Times Square that we call the Spidey Sense scene. And Mark had the idea that it was a frozen moment in time to show Spider-Man working out all the complexities of saving these people in a single moment. And it became pretty complicated. Basically, there's 40 people standing still and the camera is moving among them, with Spider-Man working out angles, how to shoot his web and keep people from being electrified. So from a technical standpoint, we were looking at, well, how do you shoot a complicated shot where it's a moment in time when nobody's moving, but the camera has to move through it. Conceptually, it's very simple. We just had everybody practice for weeks holding a pose, and the camera just basically moves through in real time. And they would just hold still as best they could for the 5 or 6 minutes it took for the camera to move through. And then later on, we would just basically, in post-production, either paint or freeze them the best we could. That way, it was a very, very simple way to shoot it, but just took basically months and months of visual effects work to get the illusion to work.
The sequence itself, the sheer volume of the effects work, I think has really come together well. And my hope is that, you know, people are so engrossed in the story and watching it that, you know, some of those effects become seamless and you really, you know, get involved with the story that's happening, and you're not focusing on the fact that everything that you're seeing in Times Square is not real.